Hello, and welcome to this training. I'm just going to move myself out the way. Welcome to this training. I've been asked to come and talk to you today by Catherine. So thank you very much for having me. My name is Victoria. I'm a marketing and business strategist. And today I'm coming in to talk to you about something that's pretty important in the product and retail world, and that is positioning your brand. So without further ado, I'm going to start. There will be a live Q&A on this. I believe Catherine has put it into your membership portal already, so I'm looking forward to seeing you soon, and there will be a workbook that accompanies this particular training for you. A little bit about me. Well, as I said, my name is Victoria. I'm a marketing and business strategist. I'm also the founder of a movement called Empathy-Led Marketing, because I believe in putting your clients at the heart of everything you do. I have 15 plus years, should I say, experience in marketing in both retail and business to business. And I'm also an associate of the Chartered Institute of Marketing. I wanted to start by saying something that I think is really powerful. And this is by a quote from a chap called Seth Godin, who I absolutely love. He's like the godfather of marketing. And he says, marketing is the generous act of helping someone with a problem, their problem. Marketing helps others become who they seek to become. So it's all about putting your clients front and center of what you do. And I hope today you get to see a little bit about how you can actually position yourselves, your products and your business in the right place in the hearts and minds of your customers. I will cover this again later on in this training, but this is talking about your clients' needs, and you really need to study what your clients' needs are, because it allows you to get right inside the heads of your audience. And when you are in a position where it's hearts and minds stuff, you actually become the go-to brand in the minds of the people that you want to attract. To study them means that you can actually start to talk about their pain points, their wants, their fears, if there's anything fear-based around what you're actually providing. And you can actually talk in their language. They also set you up as a business as well that looks at things a bit differently from others. So it positions you in a place where your clients absolutely know that you've taken the time to understand their needs and that you actually care about the products and services that you provide to them, and you care about them. It also sets you up to be very laser focused in the way that you actually attract clients. And as I said, I will come back to this later on in this training, but it's just to say, because sometimes we look at things a bit differently. We worry too much about the intrinsics of our business and what's going on in them. But you need to get really comfortable with the fact that the hero in the story isn't your business, it's your customer. It's always all about your customer. They're the ones with the specific problem, which you can help with. They're the ones that need to be able to take the action. They're not looking for a hero, they're looking for a guide. So it's a bit like saying your customer is the hero, they're the Harry Potter in the story. You're more of the Dumbledore, because you're just helping them achieve the thing that they want. You're helping to provide the product or service that they actually need. And so without further ado, I'm going to go straight into a deep dive into, or a broad view into, brand strategy and why it's so important for a retail-based business. Your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So it's not just a logo. It could be anything. It could be aimed around price, quality, what you stand for. And I'm going to go through that in a deep dive with you now, starting with, because I know this is something that comes up a lot, where do you want to position yourself in terms of price? Now, I see this happen a lot where people have got these amazing quality products and services, and money mindset gets in our way. And so we actually charge very little for our product. What we're actually saying to our clients when we charge very little for a very high price quality product is that there's a bit of a mismatch there. You know, what's actually going on? So you need to think about where it is that you actually want to position yourself. Do you want to be a high-end luxury retailer? Do you want to be somewhere in the middle? Do you want to be at the lower end? Lower end would be what I call stack it high, sell it cheap. So you have lots of things that you create and you sell them all for a set price. a mid-level where people are, they want the quality and they're willing to pay a ceiling price for it? Or are you luxury and bespoke? And at this point is where you have to, in your marketing and your brand positioning, your business positioning, you need to be able to share the value to the point that your customer understands. They say, I understand that I'm actually paying for the value here, and I'm happy to do that because I can see the value that having this thing created for me provides. You also need to think about what it is that you stand for. Where do you want to sit in the marketplace? Because you can't appeal to everybody. And again, this is something that comes up quite a lot. When we start a business, we just kind of want to appeal to all different segments of the market. And you will, as a retailer, as milliners, you will probably be in a situation where you have a few different types of audience. You might have people that come to you for weddings. You might have people that come to you for Ascot. Maybe you create things that are very seasonal. So you might have a few different types of target audience, but because you're retail based, your marketing will depend on what's coming up next. But you have to remember that you can't appeal to everybody. You can't appeal to the people that want the stack it high, sell it cheap £5 product, as well as being completely bespoke, high level luxury. So you need to have a think about where it is that you want to appeal. And this comes back to where is it that you actually want to sit in the marketplace. Now, for a creative retail sort of brand, there are a few things that you need to consider. And I've already touched upon this. Your price point will be, and these are kind of like the four pillars that you need to think about, for five actually. Your price point. Now, your price point will be one of the biggest reflections of your position. Don't underestimate it, especially if you want to position yourself as high end. Don't underestimate price at all, because it is a clear reflection of the type of business that you actually are. And I will come on to this a little bit later. Your price also needs to reflect the quality of what it is that you're actually doing. And if you're working with quality products, talk about it, because that's going to define your brand. It's going to make it much, much easier for you to position your prices at a higher price point. And this comes back to that whole mindset around, I don't want to charge that price. Have a look at what other people are doing. Have a look at the people that are in your arena that you aspire to be, or you want to, you've got similar clients, and have a look. Your customers, if they are led by quality, they will be led by price as well. They will be led by price and not quality so much if they're looking for cheaper products. So you do need to have that balance. If you've got a very, very high quality product and a very, very low price, that immediately sets almost like a psychological mismatch in the brains of your audience, because they will, without even realizing it themselves, there'll be something in the back of their mind, in their subconscious mind, that says it looks like it's quality, but why is it not particularly expensive? There will be that thing going on, and that's where it causes the ground to shift for people. So they need to feel comfortable. Is it super quality? Because if they're in that market, if they're in the market to buy something that's very high quality, they're also willing to spend those prices. So it's just something to think about. Differentiation is the next pillar. What sets your products or services apart? Is it that you work with only recycled products? Is it that you are vegan friendly? Is it that you are completely design led? Is it that every piece that you've ever created is completely bespoke? You need to have a think about all of these things, and I will come on to that shortly. I'll give you some examples. And the final two pillars that you need to think about is convenience and customer service. Now, these are actually part of the core, what I would call the cornerstones of marketing. There's something called the 7 Ps of marketing. I won't bore you with the jargon, but this does come down to that. Convenience and customer service. This is the winning combination of things. What's your customer service like? How easy is it to buy? Is your journey such a bespoke one that you go through this gorgeous design process where you sit and you talk to your clients around the type of things that they want, the colours that they're going to be wearing? Or is it more, this is off the shelf, but it's still something that's very easy to buy for you? So, you know, putting convenience and customer service, your customers, at the heart of what you're doing is going to really set you apart from the competition. And when I talk about convenience, is it, you know, are you dealing with people in your local vicinity? Are you selling online? If you are selling online, are you making it super easy for people to buy from you? Because I'll be honest, you know, we're lazy animals, we really are. So we want the easiest route. It's not always about price, it's the easiest route to getting something. So if you are selling online, are you making sure that it's a very, very easy process for your customers? It's simple, they can, few clicks of a button, they've purchased it, you send it, and it all works great. You know, and I'm making some assumptions here because I haven't been into the membership yet, so I don't know what everybody is up to. So I am making some assumptions. So if at any point during what I'm talking about you think that doesn't really apply to me, or you've got a question, I will be about to answer it on the live Q&A. So yeah, do bear with me on that one. This is something else that I would really like you to consider. Nobody wants to buy a product or service that can do everything. They would rather buy something because it does one thing or a couple of things. They don't want it to be an all singing, all dancing, all the bells and whistles. It can be an evening hat, a winter hat, a wedding hat. You can wear it to Ascot. You know, that's I mean, that's over egging it a bit there, but your product needs to fit a certain criteria. It needs to provide the solution to a specific problem or a specific desire. Owning your position. So this is really important. I'm really sorry because I normally do all of this live, so there's normally a lot of feedback. I get a lot of questions along the way, so I'm hoping that you're keeping up with me. Owning your position. Right, now we've talked about the 4 pillars. Now, to own your position, it can be as simple as creating one statement that says exactly what it is that you do. That's kind of your core. It could be your tagline. It could just be one paragraph that sets up what you do. It makes you instantly recognizable. It makes you easy to remember as well. And it's also the statement which will drive your marketing strategy. It will drive the look, the feel, the words and the phrases that your business comes up with. So if quality is part of your framework, you need to be talking about that. If freedom of expression is part of your framework, you need to be talking about that. And a couple of examples here. Philip Tracy, haute couture and ready-to-wear hats, collections and handbags. Now that is straight from his website. He doesn't actually have a physical brand positioning statement that can be found anywhere on the internet, but it's just to let you know that, you know, when you go to his website, I know exactly that I've got 2 things that I can purchase here, haute couture or ready to wear, and it's hats and it's handbags. So it's really, really specific. Flipping that on its head slightly, being a bit more creative, Prada's kind of brand positioning is that they pride themselves on quality. That's really important to them, and freedom of expression, freedom to express who you are as an individual. So they're both very different. One is very practical and one is less practical, but it does still mention that word quality. So it's thinking along the lines of, you know, how do you want to position yourself, but how do your customers also see you? How do you want them to see you? I put a few together here. These are like brands that just everybody knows about. Apple, you know, their brand positioning is to challenge the status quo, to think differently. If you go onto their website, it's all about creating unique products that really serve a purpose, but it's all about innovation for them. Coca-Cola, theirs is to refresh the world and inspire moments of optimism and happiness. Don't they do that well? Because, you know, you've got the Coca-Cola truck, you've got the bottles that have got people's names on. They've really thought about that and they've threaded it through everything that they do. Facebook, to give people the power to build community. so that we can bring the world closer together. Well, they really own that, because they actually did a big push on their platform to get more people to create groups. They wanted to inspire communities. And so they actually came away from things like business pages and put a big emphasis on groups being one of the main things that they could do, as well as personal profiles. Disney, to create happiness for people of all ages everywhere. Super simple. Doesn't actually even mention the fact that they do films, but they are such a solid brand that they wouldn't need to do that now. You might do if you're still up and coming, if you're still trying to set the scene. They don't need to, because that Disney brand, I mean, there's probably not a person on the planet that doesn't know who Disney is. Tesla, to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. Well, they're very clearly doing that, because they're all about electric cars. So these are just some ways that you can actually look at these examples and think about how you could take these very simple strategies and put that into your brand positioning. Because, as I said earlier, we're very lazy. I have something called the 10-second rule, or the grunt test. 10-second rule is, do I understand what it is that you do within 10 seconds of landing on your website, on your social feeds, your shop, wherever it is that you are, do I get what's going on? And the grunt test, if I'm going to read something like a brand positioning statement or read about what it is that you do, can I very quickly understand what it is that you do with a quick nod and a grunt? Yep, I get that. So it's about using those two things, the 10-second test and the grunt test. If you can meet both of those, it's a winning combination. Now, this is the exciting bit, because I'm going to go through with you some of the things that you could do. And I've created a platform where hopefully you'll start to think about how you can position your brand. But to actually articulate that can be a bit harder. So I've come up with a few exercises for you where you can talk about your vision, what it is that you want your business to look like, your mission, what it is that you stand for as a business, and your values. And because these are quite important to your clients, even if you are a retail brand. I had a business that I worked for in my corporate career who had this beautiful story around they had a lot of longevity behind them. They'd actually been trading in one guise or another for around 80 years, and they had this amazing history, quite unlike anybody else in their local area. They were a big local retailer, and we pulled out this gorgeous story of the fact that it was completely family run, that it had been family run for 4 generations, and that they grew a lot of stuff, but they actually grew and produced a lot of their own products, and that's what set them apart, because you were actually getting a particular product from seed to inception. It'd been looked after by one family, and that was a really, really important part of their brand strategy. So we were able to pull that out. Here's some examples for you. This is mine. So this is for me. So my vision is to empower solopreneurs like me to achieve success and grow a business on their own terms. That's what I want. That's my vision for the world. My vision for the world is to help as many people as I can to actually use empathy-led strategies in their marketing. My mission is to help you attract more clients by putting them at the heart of your business in a profitable way. Something that we don't always do, because again, the mind monkeys get in our way and we panic and don't want to charge what we're actually worth. And my values, these were personal to me, because I am my brand, and it may be the case that you are in yours as well. My values were, I like to be bold, hence the colours. I like to have fun actually with my marketing. I'm very down to earth. People will say, you're very down to earth, you keep it real, you're very knowledgeable. Trust was very important to me, and so was authenticity. Those two things were very much the cornerstones of everything that I do. So it was really important to me to thread that rhetoric through everything that I do. And by the way, I've literally just undergone a rebrand on Friday just gone. So I haven't given my website details out because that hasn't had the rebrand yet. That's in like very old phase. So that will all be coming through. back to the matter in hand. So your brand, if you're thinking about your brand and your products and your services, like, what does your brand stand for? What do you want it to stand for? Do you want it to be edgy? Do you want it to be quite classical? Do you want to be known in a specific niche? Do you want to make hats for men or women or children? You know, what is it that you stand for? What domain is it that you want to own? Do you like using particular textures or layering things, or a particular style of stuff that you create? So what is it that you stand for? The other thing that you need to consider is, and this is really important, who are your target consumers? Because if you don't know that, if you're trying to be a brand that's standing out as edgy and actually you're creating hats for the Henley Regatta, you might not be able to manage both of those things. So it's a case of looking at who your target consumers are. And as I've said, in your situation, you might have a few types, and I would expect that for a retail brand, because you might have a few different people, you know, as I've said, bridal or perhaps ascot, or so on and so forth. I'm pulling a couple of names out of the hat there, but hopefully you get the gist. What's your mission and your vision? Well, hopefully the previous slide will have helped you with that, and that this will be in the workbook as well. So you can actually have a dig around and play with what you think your mission, your vision and your values actually are. And they are important to your client, but knowing what they are intrinsically within you means it's much, much easier for you to share that brand message. So for me, empathy-led marketing, putting customers right at the heart and center of everything that I do, has been an intrinsic part of my corporate career and my now self-employed career. And I had to pull that out. I had to work out that actually that was what I wanted to stand for. There were lots of other things that I could, but that was the deepest mission, that was the deepest led value. And so I decided that I wanted to come up with this phrase, empathy-led marketing, because it was really important to me. And that leads into what makes you stand out from the rest of the market. What is it that you do differently? What's your secret sauce? You know, what would people say about you? You know, that brand, what do people say about you when you're not in the room? That's a really pertinent question. I recently actually asked my audience, I said, I'm about to undergo a rebrand. What do you think? What do you think comes to mind? And there were loads of words that were thrown around that I was actually able to sit with for a bit. And actually the colour yellow, which you can see on the bottom of this slide, actually came out from that, because people said, oh, you know, you're not pastel colours, you're as a brand, you're defined by bold colours. So that's one of the reasons that you see yellow in the colour palette that I use. The other thing to think about is, what are your customers' pain points, and how can your brand actually solve those problems? And I'm about to go into that in deeper level, because I hear this a lot from retail brands, from creative brands, that say, well, my customers don't have a pain point, they just want to buy a hat or a pair of boots, or, you know, that's true, but they will still have a pain point. And those pain points could be things that possibly keep them up at night, which I will go into slightly later on in this particular training. So we've talked about mission, vision and values, and there is something that sits on top of those three things. They're like the core, they're the cornerstone, but you can sort of go up a level, and up, as well as your mission, your vision and your values, you can start to do things that make you credible and distinctive and memorable in the marketplace. Now, distinctive and memorable, kind of quite intertwined, so I won't pick them out separately, because distinctive, memorable, two sides of the same coin, but I'm going to give you some techniques that you will be able to use in your marketing, or at least think about, that might actually help you. So to use this extra layer, your credibility, your memorability, your distinctiveness, what is your style and tone? You know, if you're going to be quite an edgy urban brand, your tone might be quite relaxed, it might be quite chilled, you might use common vernacular, you might be talking about things in a very normal way. If you're a luxury brand, you might want your tone to be slightly different. So you need to think about what your style and tone is. I would always say the tone needs to be yours, because it's really, really hard to try and write stuff out, especially in your marketing, which doesn't fit your own personal values. It can be quite tricky. Something else that you can do to set up your credibility and your distinctiveness, your memorableness. What's your process? Do you have a process for creating what you do? Is it off the shelf? What products do you provide? So that all starts to become part of your actual brand itself as well, the products and services that you create, the way that you get people to that end product. Your values, which we've already been through, how you help people. And if they're important, if they're pertinent to the people that you're helping, what are your qualifications and experience? Have you got any testimonials and case studies that case studies is probably a bit of a hooten word there, but what testimonials have you got? Have you made a hat for somebody famous? Have you made a hat for somebody important in your local town? Or did it get featured in a magazine? Anything really? Or was there a mother of the bride that was absolutely overwhelmed that you were able to create this particular headpiece because she'd driven herself potty looking in every shop known to man and wasn't able to find one? So you can pull all of these things into your unique story. Your content. Now I've put here thought leader. In your position, because it's not business to business, you are retail, I would be using, when I say thought leader, you can start talking about things that are relevant to your clients in your marketing, in the content, perhaps in like your social feeds and things like that. Maybe, Issey Miyake have got a new spring collection and you've got something that you want to say about it, about the layering or the textures or the techniques that have been used. So you can start to actually pull these things throughout the year, things like trends, all of that stuff, and you can use that, thread that through your content, because people are interested in it. If they're interested in your products, they'll be interested in those sorts of things as well. Maybe it's even a spotted wearing this style hat. What do you think? Did you prefer this one or that one? So there's all sorts of things that you could pull through. This is a pretty obvious one. Your logo and your brand colours obviously set the tone for the type of brand that you actually are. So it is something to think about. I'm not going to go into that into finite detail because I'm not a brand designer. I am a marketer. So but it is something to think about, because they all do. All of these pieces of the puzzle all come together to create that credibility, that memorableness, and that distinctiveness. Pictures, they're going to be wildly important to businesses such as yours. How do you frame the picture so that it looks really nice for your client? Or if you're a bit more of a rugged brand or an edgy brand, what can you do to make it stand out? The other thing, and I think this is probably one of the most important things, is your client experience. Especially if you design from scratch, what can your clients expect from that particular experience? Now, I am talking from more of a high-end possible view here. So what I'm saying is that if you want to create something luxury and bespoke, what sort of client experience can you give people? Are you going to do things like, and I was talking about this with Catherine the other day, actually, if they're coming up for something quite exciting, like a regatta or a festival, which it requires them to wear a headpiece, could you do something different? Could you send them something that's personal to them, that says, we worked together last year, I'd love to work with you again this year, and I'm thinking of you, this is how you can contact, this is how you can get in and make an appointment with me. So it's all about using things, that client experience, that it's the little touches. Is it that the things that you create are in a beautiful box in a specific way? I mean, I know I'm being quite generic here, but what is that client experience? How easy is it to work with you? How joyous was it to work with you? How did it make them feel? And your opinions as well. This kind of goes back to the content, being a thought leader. Your opinions on new trends that are coming out, or what somebody wore, or any of those things. You can use that in your marketing, because that helps to create two-way conversations between you and your audience. And finally, this is the exciting bit, your people. So I hope that's given you a kind of a rounded overview. There is quite a lot to go through when it comes to brand positioning. So I hope you don't think, oh my goodness, but this will all be in a workbook, so you can actually kind of have a scribble and see what works for you, see where you want to position yourself. Because if you get this bit right, it makes marketing so much easier, because you've set yourself up as this is me, this is what I stand for. It helps you to be able to charge what you actually want to charge for the product as well. So it is an important part of the marketing mix. Your people. I don't really like the word ideal client, but it comes up a lot. You can never know enough about your audience. You can never know enough about their wants, their desires, their needs. It's part of your marketing strategy that should be ever evolving, always, because people's needs change. And I think, if anything, the pandemic that we're currently in has shown us that needs can change very, very quickly. What's your niche? This is more to do with the people that you serve, actually. Who do you serve? What do you serve them with? What are they actually looking for? If you're creating a very, very classical headpiece or something, a very classical product, who's more likely to want that? Which generation, which age group? What sort of person? Are they male? Are they female? Is it unisex? You know, so who is it that you serve? Think about it from the perspective of them. What is it that they're actually looking for? You know, what desires do they have? What aspirations do they have? Do they want to be the winner of the best hat at Ascot? You know, is that a thing for them? So you need to think about who it is that you serve and what problems you solve or how you help them. This is something else that you need to be quite clear on. And again, retail, people will always say, oh, it's, you know, it's a hat or it's a pair of boots. They don't really solve a problem, but actually they do, because it depends where they do, number one, but it also depends where you position yourself as well. So for example's sake, if I was in the market for the sort of person that would like a Rolex, okay, that's appealing to my self-esteem, that particular product. There's something called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's spelt Maslow, M-A-S-L-O-W. You can go and look it up. And Maslow deduced that we had a hierarchy of needs. One of them was self-actualization, one was self-belief, one was very basic need to be, you know, protected, have food and drink and water. And so there's this whole hierarchy. So as a Rolex marketer, I would be looking to market that because it's a very high quality product, it's a very expensive product, and actually I want to be looking to market my goods and services at somebody who A, can afford them, B, appreciate them, and C, I want to be able to appeal to their sense of self, to that person's sense of self-esteem. You know, maybe if I'm going to buy a Rolex, I'm going to feel like I've made it, I deserve it, I've just had a bonus at work and I want to go and buy myself that thing. Or lots of people in my family also own this thing and therefore I want one as well, because that's going to make me, it's going to appeal to my sense of self. So you can use this in your marketing, not in a kind of a, I don't like to go down the route of it being kind of sleazy or anything like that, but you need to think about the emotions that your products and your services provide. How do they make people feel? Because if you can actually verbalize that, tell people how it makes them feel, they're much more likely to want to buy from you. And the results you deliver and how you get them there, well, how you get them there, that's your customer service. You know, what is that bit? How do people work with you? What results do you deliver? You know, if you deliver something that is bespoke and is made exactly to someone's specifications, that is designed with them in mind, their face shape, their hair color, what they're wearing, any of those things, you can talk about that in your marketing. Or maybe you create something that is, you know, stylish but warm headgear. You know, so there's lots of different things that you can do. It depends. I know I keep going to luxury, but It depends on where you want to sit in the marketplace, so what results do you actually deliver? Digging a little bit deeper into the problem. So, arguably your audience, a lot of marketers will say, what keeps your audience up at night? And I'm not sure that you're coming from a more aspirational point of view. So I don't think that the problem that you're fixing is necessarily going to keep people up at night, but it might do if they're really stressing about finding the product that you create to match an outfit, or that they're going to get it in time, or whatever it is. So there is still that problem there. But talk about it. What is it that you're passionate about? What lights you up about what you do? What's the obvious problem? The obvious problem is they're looking for a hat or that sort of product. What's the underlying problem? Well, again, as I've said, there could be a few. It could be that maybe they're in a situation where they don't really want to wear a hat, but they've got to because they've been asked to, and it's a wedding. There's all these things that could be pulled up. So try and think about it from your customer's point of view. What's the underlying problems here? Is it that they've been to 10 different shops and nothing fits, and everything just makes them feel like, they've got something too small, or it's too big, or it doesn't sit right? So there's all these things that you can actually pull out into your marketing, not forgetting what their aspirations and their desires are, because that is a really important part of your marketing. I've got an example here. Now, this is quite a heavyweight example, so you'll have to bear with me, but hopefully you'll understand where it is that I'm coming from. So if I was a health coach like Joe Wicks or what have you, the obvious problem is that people are going to come to me because they need to lose weight, or they can't keep the weight off. There'll be a secondary kind of layer of problems, and that is they could have stiff joints, they could be feeling less mobile, maybe feeling quite depressed about the way that they look, maybe they can't sleep, maybe they're not very active. But then there'll be another layer of problem that you can really hone in on. This what is it that's actually the issue here? And it could be that for somebody that's trying to go and work with a health coach, that every time they go shopping, it feels like a total ordeal. It feels like every pair of jeans, so they're going to go jean shopping, every pair of jeans that they try on in these godforsaken cubicles that we get given, they try it on, they feel lumpy, they feel uncomfortable, it doesn't look right, nothing feels like the cut fits properly, and after an exhausting day of trying on what feels like every pair of shop trousers that there is, they get really fed up. And so because they wanted to treat themselves to something new, they end up buying a chocolate bar and a pair of shoes instead, and then they'll take that home, and that pair of shoes sits in the bottom of a wardrobe with 50 other pairs of gorgeously exquisite shoes that never see the light of day, because there's a lack of confidence with what's being worn. So it's a very deep level thing that I'm talking about there, and you can flip that either way. It can be aspirational, like we talked about the Rolex, this appeals to my sense of self-esteem, or it can be that there's actually physically a problem. And I wanted to give you both layers so that you could see, but once you start to dig down, it makes life an awful lot easier. What's keeping them up at night? As I've said, this may or may not be relevant to you. So if you feel like anything in this tutorial, if you want to call it that, is not relevant, then you don't use it. You just eat the chicken, you throw away the bones, you throw away the bits that are no good to you. So what's keeping them up at night may or may not be so important to you. Their own personal values, again, may or may not be important to you, depending on the types of products and services that you offer. If you're appealing to somebody who's very design-led, they might be quite creative. That might be one of their values. I've got a creative flair, and I want something that's very design-led and inspired and is going to stand out. What are their goals? So why do they want this particular thing, and how does it fix their problem? What frustrations have they had? What have they already tried that just didn't work for them, that actually you can help fix them with? To think about these things means that you're getting in on a much deeper level with the people that you want to serve. And what do they love or hate about the solutions that are already available to them? You know, and as I've said, coming back to this, I've traipsed through all the shops that I could find. I've tried on every hat, you know, every shape and every design, and I feel like none of them suit me. You know, that could be what they love and hate about the solutions available. Off the peg, it's not working for me. Who else are they buying from? I know there's always this vein of thought that you shouldn't really keep your eye on the competition, but actually, to a degree, you should, because you need to know what's attracting other people to them. You know, what is it that they do that attracts the same sorts of people that you want to attract. And probably one of the biggest things that you can think about is, are they ready to invest? Are they actually ready to invest in the thing that you have? Because it may be, and this goes for a lot of your marketing, that you feel sometimes like you're shouting to an empty room. And that may just be that people aren't ready to buy yet because you've just started talking about a latest collection, or you've just started talking about this new season where people are going to want this specific product. So it may be that it takes a little bit of time for that message to actually come through for people. And think about your product or your solution as well. Like, people have always got problems in designers. So how can your product or solution actually get them there? And I always say that people are standing on island A. That's the bit where they're looking for the thing that they want, which is what you provide. And metaphorically speaking, they want to get to island B. That's it. They've got this thing is sorted. They've got the product that they need. They've got the service that they need. That's kind of the transformation, if you like. But it's also talking about your products and your solution. You know, your solution. What is it that you can do to create that happy, I'm on island B vibe? And that is the end of my presentation. I know it's a lot to go through. Catherine and I talked about all the different variations that we could come up with in terms of marketing training. So I hope this has been useful to you. Hopefully you'll have lots of questions for me. Please do ask away, because I love to chat about marketing all of the time. Bit of a marketing geek. So yes, if you have any problems that you want to put, or questions that you want to put to me, I would absolutely love to hear them. That's me for this evening. That's me recorded, and I hope we'll see you soon in the membership, where I can actually answer those questions for you.